In November 2006, 26-year-old New Zealander Jamie Herdman disappeared in the vast expanse of the Australian outback.
It's very, very hot, frequent bushfires through it. You wouldn't survive long in that sort of environment without water.
He'd fled Broome in Western Australia just a few days earlier.
He told me that Black Power members from New Zealand were chasing him across the country.
After driving over 2,000 kilometres, Jamie Herdman abandoned his van at the tiny settlement of Daly Waters.
To me, it was just a gut feeling. There was something wrong.
I think we were all really surprised to see all of Jamie's belongings in there.
I didn't see any blood on the windscreen, but it was definitely a head impression.
He was definitely under the influence of drugs at that time.
He just had his head down looking at the dirt and shuffling it with his feet at the grass, you know.
Something happened there. You could just feel it.
It's baffled so many people how one guy can hop in his camper van and just disappear off the face of the earth.
The mystery behind Jamie Herdman's disappearance spans 2 states and 2 countries. Originally from Whakatane, Jamie landed in Western Australia in March 2005.
I think Jamie was just looking for a change, and like Australia is for us Kiwis, there's a lot of good jobs over here. I think he was just keen to open his eyes and see the world.
After arriving in Broome, Jamie bought a camper van to drive around Australia.
Me and my brother actually had a bit of a laugh. He said, "Oh, I've bought a van," so we went and had a look, and it's the old combi-style van like you see the old nomads driving around, and we thought, oh, good on you, Jamie, you know, give it a go. Yeah, nah, she's a piece of shit.
Sam was working for a furniture removal company, and his boss, Nigel, gave Jamie a job as well.
Jamie had nowhere to live, and Nigel asked me would I mind if he camped in his van and stayed at the shed. And I said that was no problem, and that's how come I got to know him.
The company has since gone out of business, but the landlord, Chris Wright, still owns the premises.
I can still visualise where he parked his van and where he had the door open, and I would sit out here with Jamie. Yeah, we'd have a cold one after work. Jamie was a quiet person, but very polite, kept very much to himself, but all in all, just generally very easy to get on with.
Oh, it was a pretty rugged sort of existence there. He had a little ablution block outside there. But Jamie was happy, that's what he liked doing. He was happy, and that was the main thing.
I pretty much saw Jamie every day for the entire 12 months or thereabouts that he was here.
But this was all about to change. Without warning, Jamie threw his things into his van, withdrew $1,000 from an ATM, and left Broome in a hurry.
I was very surprised that he'd gone. I was even more surprised to think that he hadn't said, or disappointed to think that he hadn't said goodbye, or see you later, or I'll be back, or anything of that nature.
Although no one knew it, Jamie had begun a road trip that would take him over 2,000 kilometres east. The first sign of anything being amiss was a phone call more than a week later.
Well, I was actually living at his brother's place down in Perth. We were having a barbie that night, and the police rang up and said they found Jamie's white van. That's when something sort of, just like a switch really, thought, oh no, hang on. He wouldn't leave that lying around anywhere.
To start with, I was very surprised that he left in that much of a hurry, because he was still worried about the mechanics on the van and stuff, so he didn't want to push it if he was going to do that big journey.
Although Jamie had always planned on travelling, why had he left so suddenly? And most importantly, where had he gone?
Steve got a phone call and it was, life-shattering really.
His van had broken down in a place called Darley Waters, and Jamie had been seen hitchhiking out of Darley Waters.
Well, Darley Waters itself consists of the Highway Inn, the service station, which is on the main highway between Darwin and Adelaide. That's basically it.
The Roadhouse is 600k south of Darwin, and it's fuel, motel accommodation. We had mechanical shops, tyres, a pub, and just a general stop for anything you'd need on the travels.
Jamie had driven from Broome in just over 3 days and parked his van behind the Roadhouse.
Peter came up in the morning and just mentioned that there was a van down the back, that it was sort of not where it should have been.
I said, oh, there's a van parked down there. I think someone's snuck in and having a sleep.
Where it was parked was a very unusual place for anyone from the public to park. It's just an area of staff cars.
When I went and had a look at the van, it was unlocked. There was a cell phone in it. In the back, through the back window, we could see a bowl with a heap of change in it. I don't know, probably $60, $80 worth of change, which seemed strange in an unlocked van. I don't think it was broken down, because if it was broken down, why would you park it around the back? You'd come to the front where we had a mechanical service and get it fixed.
To me, it was just a gut feeling. There was something wrong.
And there was. The van's owner, Jamie Herdman, was nowhere to be seen.
No one knew anything about the van. I asked all the staff as they come through in the course of the day. I went through and I found an envelope with an address on the back for New Zealand and gave that address to the police and let them take it from there.
An abandoned vehicle left on the highway or left at a roadhouse is not uncommon in that area, due to obviously breakdown, mechanical failures, etc. It's not uncommon for someone to leave a van at any of the roadhouses or along the highway.
But this van seemed very unusual.
Jamie loved that van. Jamie, why? Yeah, he wouldn't have walked away from his van.
However, a few days later, police made a worrying discovery. On the night Jamie disappeared, a violent incident had occurred at the Roadhouse.
We get a few Aboriginals that come in from outlying areas. They like to go across the road. There's some tea tree scrub there in Lancewood, and they like to camp there and have a bit of a party amongst themselves, and that was the case that particular night.
In the early hours of the morning, one of the staff was woken by a fight near a white Ford Falcon.
When I woke up, when the noise woke me up, when I went out there, all I could see was the 3 people standing around the car. They were breaking glass, they were thumping. I went over and had a look in the morning. Oh, windscreen smashed, a few dented panels. Oh, not my problem. Went on with my business.
At 6 o'clock in the morning, when we start work, they were gone, which is very unusual. I wondered whose it was, and no one had picked it up, so I went over to it, and it had the windscreen smashed in, like a big bulge in the windscreen. And then I sort of walked around it, and there was blood all down one side of I think it was the left rear door skin, and it was definitely blood. And I thought, well, that's strange. So I put my head in the hole in the windscreen, or the impression, and it was exactly a head size. It was like it fitted my head perfectly.
Where Jamie had parked his van was only probably about 30 metres from where all this happened. So whether he was on his way back to his van and you know, something happened, it is a possibility, but I don't know how we get the answers to that.
You can never be 100% sure, but certainly the investigations at the time, and we identified the car, took blood samples, had anything untoward happen, obviously there would have been a scene there, and there was just nothing there to link Jamie to it.
With the car eliminated, police focused on Jamie's departure from Broome.
Jamie had left work in an agitated state and just with no notice, just basically up and left, so we needed to get to the bottom of that as to what had transpired in Broome to make Jamie leave Broome the way he did.
Police discovered that Jamie had run into his boss, Nigel Patmore, as he fled Broome.
Jamie basically said to Nigel, "I'm sorry, I've got to go. Something from my past has caught up with me. See you later."
When Nigel asked if he had a spare tyre for his road trip, Jamie said he'd left it back at work and asked if he could go and get it for him.
It was a big favour that Nigel did, and Nigel said, well, I had to do it. He asked me to do it.
Jamie spent the night at a turn-off 160 kilometres out of Broome and arranged to get the tyre off Nigel the next morning.
Nigel tried to get more information from him, but he said no, all he kept referring to was something from his past that caught up with him, and that he had to go.
What was it from Jamie's past that had come back to haunt him? "26-year-old New Zealander Jamie Herdman went missing in November 2006 in the tiny outback settlement of Daly Waters. He'd quit his job in Broome just a few days earlier and told his boss his past had caught up with him. Could his disappearance be traced back to his life in Whakatane?
Jamie was really close to his mother. Janine was probably very protective of Jamie because of his shyness growing up.
His mum was one of the persons who could get the most out of Jamie. They were real close. I think Janine knew how Jamie operated and knew how to get the most out of him, and I think Jamie sort of just took that on board and liked being around her.
He was a typical middle child. He was sort of in the middle and in the background as well, I guess, because Kim and Carl both have more outgoing personalities than Jamie.
But when Janine was diagnosed with cancer, Jamie's world fell apart.
I think it was very tough for Jamie because of that special bond he had with his mum, and because he probably wasn't able to air his feelings the way others were in the family.
Janine died in October 2001, just 8 months after being diagnosed.
We all struggled hugely after we lost Janine, we really did. Jamie was affected as bad as all of us, I guess, and we all deal with it differently.
It kind of just threw him into turmoil of he didn't know where he was going to go, what he was going to do. And definitely the months after he started to change, he really went into hibernation, is what we kind of said.
Jamie also struggled to cope with his father's new relationship with his best friend Sam's mother.
Well, after Dad and Deb had got together, and because it was so sudden, a lot of the family were upset about it, especially Jamie.
They were all a bit upset about it, but I mean, we never had any conflict. I'm sure he was hurt, but as I said to you, he was a pretty sort of cool, calm character, and he probably dealt with it himself.
I think it all just happened at once for Jamie. It did for all of us, but I think it just all caught up with him at once.
Jamie's relationship with his father became strained, and he moved out.
The flat he was in was one of those ones that didn't get tidy very often, or the floor wasn't swept, or the dishes weren't clean, you know, just that type of thing, that type of style. Beers everywhere and just general party flat, yeah.
It was just a run-down dive, and it was just a hangout place for a lot of their friends and booze-ups and stuff like that.
We sort of lost touch a bit, and this is where Jamie's life sort of took a turn for the worse.
Still struggling to cope with the death of his mother, Jamie turned to drugs.
I had suspicions, and I knew that he was using drugs, but I didn't know what extent or how much.
A couple of times, Jamie would turn up at family occasions, and he was definitely under the influence of drugs at that time, and it was huge for us to see him. And I guess for him, maybe this was his way of dealing with things, and you know, to just shut it off and not actually deal with it at all.
Oh yeah, definitely indulged in a bit of substances, just like everyone does, you know, smokes a bit of weed, tries a bit of this and that, you know, yeah. Yeah, you just smoke a little bit of meth, I think, yeah. Tried it out every now and again. Just recreational, yeah, it wasn't heavy when I was around him or with him. Just if everyone else was on it, you know, wouldn't be shy of having a little helping, yeah.
But Jamie would get into more trouble, and things reached a head when he was arrested for assault.
Jamie was charged, and we went through the court system, and it was such a sad day for me to see my son standing up in front of the judge. He went back to the flat and the lifestyle that he was living there. And yeah, the times when he did turn up one Christmas, and he was definitely very much under the influence of methamphetamine. He did confide in and tell her that he was actually dealing methamphetamine. You see a child involved in these drugs, and there's not often, you know, a good ending.
Just a few months before he left for Australia, the course of Jamie's life took another strange turn. He quit his job at a local quarry and turned up unannounced at Steve's house.
He didn't ever explain why. He just walked up the driveway with his worldly possessions, and yeah, there was a bed waiting for him.
I'll never forget that day until I die. The surprise, the excitement, just, yeah, I got my son back.
Over the next few months, it appeared he'd turned his back on his old life.
He worked with me, and he was a great help. He just seemed very cheerful, normal, happy guy.
Never looked like he'd been smoking dope or anything like that. He loved his grog, you know, he'd have a few beers and stuff like that, but I don't think he ever did drugs when he was with us.
Jamie's interest was to go to Australia because his brother had moved to Perth, so he was quite keen to go over there. And so, yeah, he knuckled down. He's earned good money, saved some money, and we got his ticket to Australia.
Once there, it seemed Jamie stayed on the right track as well.
When he was in Broome, he was the cleanest I've seen him for ages. Like, both used to smoke a bit of weed back home. But when he was in Broome, no, he wasn't keen. He was, yeah, turning over a new leaf.
Had there been drugs involved here at McDaniel Road, I think I would have been aware of it. I'm not naive to the fact, having worked with the justice system for a long time. I just always assumed that he was quiet and reserved and didn't go out much because he wanted to save his money ready for travelling.
He knew there was a lot of things out there to explore and do, you know. He had got a bit of a taste of that since he had been in Australia and out of his dark days. So I think he was slowly coming around, slowly changing, slowly opening up.
Jamie's life appeared settled, but would his immediate neighbours tempt him back into his old ways? One of the other tenants at the removal company in Broome was the local prison work scheme.
I was in prison here in Broome, and Jamie used to work in a shed in the front of the workshop where I was working at, and we had a common toilet. So the toilet we had to use was at the shed that Jamie was working at.
This is the path that the prisoners used to walk down. They had about a 100-metre walk to get to the bathroom and toilet facilities that they shared with Jamie. And this was the toilet that the prisoners from the shed down there, about 100 metres away, they would come and use at the same time that he shared the facility.
Did Jamie become involved in some form of illegal activity with the prisoners?
There was no hardened crimson there. It was all drunken driving, assaulting their missus, break and restraint orders, all misdemeanours, all little stuff. It's a minimum security jail.
But Jamie was doing clandestine deals, supplying inmates with alcohol, cigarettes and possibly drugs. One of these deals was with an Aboriginal prisoner who painted a mural on his van.
I just wanted to do it because I like the person. If I don't like anybody, I won't do anything for them. That's how I see things. Well, he got me carton of cigarettes for that, so that's why I was happy. Screws don't know nothing about it. That's what I do. I put my art on his van to protect him. Any black fella see them art, they won't touch you. That's why I put that art on his car to protect him.
It was Aboriginal art, and it was to give him peaceful travel. And if you put a picture like that on the back of his car, usually they'll leave him alone. He won't have any troubles on his travels.
That's Midlagoon. That's my homeland.
But would the mural protect him? In the months before Jamie's disappearance, his travel plans appeared on track.
Yeah, he was going to shoot off from Broome, do the big road trip across over to Queensland, spend the warmer months up there, and then once the ski season kicked in, he was going to head down to Thredbo, I think it is, in Australia there, and he was going to try and pick up a bit of work on the mountain there. To me, it looked like the start of a change for Jamie. He was opening up and he was happy, and yeah, he had goals, yeah, it looked good.
Things also looked good when he flew to England for his sister Kim's wedding. To his family, nothing seemed amiss.
So that was fantastic quality time for us to be, like a family again, and on such a wonderful occasion. We were in Clapham Junction and just saying goodbye, and just that last glance at each other, where you sort of turn and that final farewell, and I'll remember that sight.
It would be the last time Steve saw his son. In 2006, 26-year-old New Zealander Jamie Herdman abandoned his camper van in the tiny outback settlement of Daly Waters. He'd had a drug problem several years earlier, but after moving to Australia, he appeared to have gone clean. Just a week before he went missing, 3 of Jamie's friends were in town and stayed at one of Broome's best resorts. To them, Jamie seemed his normal self.
We had a real good time there, swimming in the pool and generally partying up like young blokes should. Yeah, it was a good time. A lot of money spent on piss and food, and yeah, it was good. We had a real good time. Jamie actually ended up hiring us a boat. Spent the afternoon out there fishing, got a couple of real good hookups. I think we hooked up one barramundi and that was pretty exciting.
But strangely, Jamie made no mention of any plans to leave Broome. Hiring the boat seemed strange as well. It cost him $450, almost an entire week's wages.
He wouldn't usually, but he must have been doing all right for himself, earning a bit of money, so yeah, he said, come on boys, let's go fishing.
Jamie hired this boat because everything was in his name, but it just seemed strange for us. We just sort of thought, well, why would Jamie spend that money going out on a fishing trip? But it did seem odd.
But even more odd, just 2 days after his friends left Broome and 24 hours before his own departure, Jamie withdrew another $1,000 from his bank account.
I overheard them saying that he was in debt and the bike he was out from. Mother, I overheard them saying things like that, the bike keys. That's all. They didn't say what bike key. I don't know. Just bike key.
Although it seemed Jamie had put drugs behind him, was this overheard conversation the key to his disappearance at Daily Waters?
Staff at the Highway Inn were spoken to on a number of occasions regarding the incident to see if they recalled any information.
Police also inspected Jamie's van. Although there were no keys for it, they managed to hotwire it. It ran well, all but ruling out Jamie having broken down. After identifying the van's owner, photos of Jamie were distributed around the area.
Maybe 2 days later, I got an email photo of Jamie and instantly said, well, I never saw anyone here with dreadlocks. Dreadlocks stand out to me. They always have, always will.
But the photos of Jamie did provide a surprising breakthrough. A possible sighting the night he went missing by the investigating officer, Nathan Finn.
I seen him, he was hitchhiking about 100 metres south of the Highway Inn. This was probably late in the afternoon, around 5 o'clock in the afternoon. It seemed unusual that he was hitchhiking away from a roadhouse or a determined place of safety. I remember his just basic appearance with dreadlocks, short person. I believe he's shorts and t-shirts and also a backpacker at the time. I was 90% certain that the person I did see hitchhiking south of the Highway Inn was actually Jamie Herdman.
But Jamie's family disagree.
There was definitely no possibility of Jamie being out on that road at that time.
Jamie's bank records showed that at the time he was seen hitchhiking, he was also filling up with petrol 170 kilometres away.
I still don't know to this day. The only thing I can think of is maybe Nathan's timing was help.
What was certain, however, was that Jamie had left Broome in a hurry. He'd bumped into his boss, Nigel Patmore, just out of town, where they'd discussed getting Jamie's spare tyre.
Nigel said that he was concerned for Jamie's state of mind, if you like, and the agitation that was about him, and that he said he wasn't in a position to go back to Broome to get the tyre, and that's when apparently Nigel had offered to come back and get the tyre, the wheel for him.
After getting the tyre, Jamie continued on his journey. Using his bank records, police tracked his movements as he'd headed east from Broome. He made numerous purchases along the way, but in a small town called Kununurra, he bumped into a friend.
Actually, we just pulled around the corner to the Shell servo. We got some, odd drinks and whatever, and who rocks up? Bob Marley.
Strangely, Dusan saw none of the agitation Nigel had reported, and Jamie no longer seemed distressed.
Didn't have a care in the world. Happy as. Jamie wouldn't know how to rush. Yeah, no, just lay back, having a good time, out of Broome, on his way. never heard that he was being chased or in trouble or anything. We chatted with him probably half an hour, I suppose, on the side of the road. The last we seen of him.
Jamie continued his journey east. When he reached Katherine, he turned left and headed over 200 kilometres north towards Darwin. His bank records show he bought petrol at a small town just south of Darwin before he inexplicably U-turned and headed back south to Katherine again.
Why would he sort of drive all the way just about to Darwin but actually not go into Darwin and then turn around and come back?
But almost more mysterious is what would unfold at Katherine Police Station. When the owners of the Highway Inn found Jamie Herdman's van at their roadhouse, they called police. When they ran Jamie's name through the police computer system, they made an ominous discovery.
On that check, we found out he'd called into Katherine Police Station. He'd made a report there that he'd been followed along the Victoria Highway towards Katherine.
Not just followed, but chased by Black Power gang members from New Zealand.
Well, he told me that he'd driven straight from Broome to Katherine and that these gentlemen were chasing him and that they wanted to do him some mischief. I did ask Jamie why these people had come from New Zealand to Broome and then chased them across the country. His reply was that he'd had a relationship with the president of the Black Power's daughter, which resulted in a pregnancy. And he said that that was the reason that these people were there to do him some harm.
Although Jamie's story seemed unlikely, he said he'd just seen the men in a car in Katherine.
It was an old Ford, red or maroon in colour, and that there were 4 people of Maori appearance in the vehicle. He appeared to me to be a little bit paranoid. What I took from that was that he's possibly smoking a bit of marijuana, he's on a long journey, he's on his own, and that he might have become a bit nervous along the way. Other than that, his mental health didn't ring alarm bells to me.
Police did take his claims seriously though, and asked patrols to keep an eye out for a red or maroon Ford Falcon.
I nearly fell over when the response came back that they'd actually found a vehicle with gentlemen of that description in it.
Jamie remained at the station while Stephen went down to talk to the suspects himself.
There were only 2 people in the vehicle, and it was immediately obvious to me that they weren't of Maori ethnicity, and it was my opinion at that stage that they just weren't the people that Jamie thought they might have been. Once I'd returned to the station and spoken to Jamie, he appeared to me to be satisfied with the inquiries we conducted. And he appeared quite happy to go along his way up to Darwin.
The incident and the fact it happened just hours before his disappearance has always troubled Jamie's family.
Why did he go into the police station? Did he know that someone was following him? I don't know. I don't know why he did that. But the police obviously didn't take him seriously. Did that car follow him all the way to Daly Waters? I don't know.
Jamie wouldn't have been the type of bloke just to rock into the cop station and say something like that, no. So there must have been some truth to it, for sure. Must have been something going on there that Jamie wasn't happy with for him to do that.
If the Black Power after him, why weren't they after him in New Zealand? They had every opportunity, if they had a vendetta against Jamie, to do it when he was in New Zealand.
New Zealand police were asked to make inquiries about Black Power, but they came to nothing. Confused, Jamie's family decided to retrace his steps to Daly Waters themselves.
And we drove in, and it was just very emotional. It was the weirdest feeling. Something happened there. You could just feel it.
When I first went there, thought that I would just stay there and I would start searching myself, and I would just keep searching it. And I realised after 2 or 3 hours of that, you're just wasting your time. You know, this is such a huge landscape, and it was such an unforgiving land because searching physically is not an option.
Instead, they focused on Jamie's bank records, which revealed some unusual transactions the night he went missing. At 8 minutes to 9, he made a purchase of $55.21. Strangely, the purchase was refunded just 2 minutes later.
We don't do many refunds. I wouldn't know why there was a transaction for the amount of $55.21. It seems like an oddball number.
The fact that it's a strange amount is what makes me think that it's petrol, because yes, we don't have anything with 1 cent, it was always 5 or 10.
I don't know what to make of the refund situation. It certainly doesn't make any sense that whoever performed that transaction doesn't remember it.
I can't believe that nobody has really given us a positive ID that night. It's really strange.
Even more unusual, 2 minutes after the refund, Jamie's card was used again at the ATM machine. First for a balance inquiry, and then to withdraw $100.
The ATM is right next to the bar. It's probably only 1.5 meters from the bar.
And Jamie's sort of not your normal average. He's quite distinctive in his looks with his dreads and casual appearance.
The fact that no one was certain they'd seen Jamie raised the question, was somebody else using his card?
Since that date, no money's gone out of Jamie's account. Had it been in the hands of other people, I would, and from experience, I'd say that that those persons, had they illegally obtained their card, they would have cleaned the account out.
Today, Jamie's account still has several $1,000s sitting in it, untouched. Since his disappearance almost 4 years ago, rumours have surfaced that he may have been involved in drug trafficking in Australia. When Jamie Herdman abandoned his van at the Highway Inn, he'd said he was being chased by Black Power gang members. Although no evidence was found to support this theory, there were rumours that Jamie could have been involved in drug trafficking.
We had this truckie, and he was a fairly, I can't even remember his name, but we knew him, and we were having breakfast with him out in the front veranda, and the subject of Jamie Herdman come up, and he just out of the blue just said, well, yeah, drugs were involved in Broome, and he was known as a bit of a dealer there. So whether that's true or not, I don't know, but it sort of adds another sort of little stick in the fire, you know. We're not too sure about that.
Drug trafficking has previously been linked to the furniture removal industry in Australia, but Sam refutes Jamie's involvement.
Jamie wouldn't have stumbled across something at work, some sort of shipment of drugs or anything like that. No, Nigel Patton definitely wouldn't have been involved in anything he shouldn't have been.
But our investigations have revealed that at the time of Jamie's disappearance, a staff member at the Highway Inn was under suspicion of dealing methamphetamine from the Roadhouse. Although charges were never laid, could Jamie have been connected to this in some way?
He may have partaken in a little bit of marijuana, but certainly as far as selling, distributing or anything like that, he certainly wasn't involved in anything like that that we were aware of, and the investigation hasn't indicated anything.
I don't know whether we thought we would come up here and find all the answers, but certainly we thought we might find some clarity, and we found just a lot more questions.
And one of these was whether Jamie's disappearance was the result of a paranoid or psychotic episode.
Well, I was coming home from Catherine and I happened to notice a guy walking, standing, moving around in one place, weird, and I looked and I thought, he's not hitchhiking, he's not looking for a lift, there's something wrong. He just had his head down looking at the dirt and shuffling it with his feet at the grass, you know. He had long plaited hair, like that curly hair, you know, the one when they let it get dirty, and the next day, roundabout when I was shutting my shop, he come to the door and I thought, oh, that's the fella I saw yesterday. He wanted something to eat and I'd had everything off, and I said, oh, I've shut shop, but if you go around the pub, they'll give you a feed. You can get something to eat, and he walked off.
If Jamie was lost or delusional, there is little chance he would survive in such an unforgiving environment. If he was running from his past, it seems unlikely he's managed to escape it.
It's as bad now as it was on day one, but as time goes on, he's definitely something bad has happened to him, and it all comes down to that last night in Daly Waters. Something happened there that night, and we have to find out what did happen.
I feel that someone knows something when this person says something. I think it will be finished. I think we'll know where Jamie is.
Any outcome is better than none, so we just want an answer. Either way, we just need to find an answer.
There is this tiny part of me that still hopes that we'll find him, yeah. But deep down, I do fear the worst, definitely, yeah. Yeah. But I have to find him. I know, you know, I have to find him. I have to take him home to be with his mum.